students, in the first part of this topic, that is the heart, we had studied about the internal structure of the heart. We had studied in this part about the chambers of the heart, the valves in the heart, as well as the blood vessels entering or leaving the heart. Like you see, this is right auricle, this is left auricle, right ventricle, left ventricle. Now this is vena cava, in which there are two vessels opening together, that is superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. This is pulmonary artery, this is aorta. Now there was the valve at the opening of pulmonary artery, that is called pulmonary semilunar valve, and here there is aortic semilunar valve. This is called tricuspid valve and this is called bicuspid valve. Now, so we had studied about its different parts. Now we have to study further some more terms related to the structure of the heart, and the first one is, that is the SAN or sino-auricular node, auricular node or atrial node. Commonly this is termed as pacemaker. Now just we had started the topic and said that is we will study all these structures in 2 points, that is about location and the function. So first of all, the SAN, which is the impulse generating structure in the heart, we have studied that its muscles work on its own. Now it has this structure on the outer wall of the right auricle near the vena cava, from which there will be nerve fibers arising. Here this is the SAN. So location is on the outer wall of right auricle near vena cava, opening of vena cava. Now we say that it generates nerve impulse for the contraction of the muscles of the heart. So it generates nerve impulse for contraction of heart muscles. Now it is self-generating, that is it generates its own nerve impulse, that is called myocardium. Now the nerve impulse generated by the SAN is received by the another structure which is located at the bottom of interauricular septum, that is the wall separating the two chambers of the auricles on the right side. Here this is called AVN, that is atrioventricular node, from which the two bundle of nerve fibers arises and that passes into the middle wall of the ventricle, from which some nerve fiber again arises in the outer wall of the ventricle. Now these are called, that is bundle of His, and the nerve fiber arising from it in the outer wall of the ventricle is called Purkinje fiber. Now, so there is another structure that is termed as AVN, that is auriculoventricular node or atrioventricular node, auriculoventricular node. Now, as we have studied here, that is it is located at the bottom of interauricular septum in right auricle, or atrium auricle. So this is located at the bottom of interauricular septum in right auricle, and now it receives nerve impulse from the san and transmits it to the muscles of ventricle, muscular wall of ventricle with the help of bundle of His and Purkinje fiber. So this is the two structure, that is the san avian bundle of His and Purkinje fiber, that is studied in this part. Now, a student, one more structure which has to be labeled and studied here, that is the chordae tendini. As the name suggests, cord means the string-like structure, cord-like structure, and tendini, that is made up of tendon, the fibrous connective tissue. Now we see here, student, that is the flaps of tricuspid and bicuspid valves are held in position with the help of this fiber. Now this is the chordae tendini, that is the muscular wall of ventricle has elevated portion of muscular wall is called papilla. So this is ventricular papilla. So it is joining or connecting the flaps of tricuspid and bicuspid valves on both sides here. Now this is chordae tendini. So this is the cord-like structure joining the flaps of tricuspid and bicuspid valves to the ventricular papilla. That is, this is called papilla, the elevated portion of the muscular wall of any structure. And what is its function? It holds, that is, it prevents tricuspid and bicuspid valves from overturning during ventricular systole. So this is about the different parts of the chambers of the heart. Inside it there are many structures. Now we have described the different parts of the heart. Now we will then start with some more terms, the mechanism of working of the chambers of the heart. Now you see here, student, there is a term called double circulation. Now what is double circulation? If we will study the circulation of blood through the heart, then actually it starts from right auricle. It receives deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body, contracts to send the blood into the right ventricle. From here, through pulmonary artery, it goes to the lungs for oxygenation. The oxygenated blood returns back through pulmonary vein to the left auricle. From here, it goes to the left ventricle, and when ventricle contracts, then the blood through aorta is sent to the tissues or different parts of the body. Means the blood enters and leaves the heart twice in each circulation. This is called double circulation. In this part we see that the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood flow separately. Like you see, in the right chambers of the heart, deoxygenated blood flows, whereas in left chambers of the heart, oxygenated blood flows. The question is asked in board exam that what type of blood flows in the right chambers of the heart? Then it is deoxygenated blood, and in left chambers of the heart it is oxygenated. Clear, student? So double circulation, that is the blood enters and leaves the heart twice in each circulation, that is the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood flow separately. This is called double circulation. Now student, you see that the double circulation is studied in two parts. The first is pulmonary circulation. That is, pulmonary circulation is in between the heart and the lungs. So that will start from right ventricle. So this is between the heart and the lungs. Like according to the diagram, we see that it starts from right ventricle. Students, sometimes the question is asked to write logical sequence, that is for related topics or procedure. Now some related terms are given in jumbled form, and we have to arrange them in order to make a logical sequence. Now, so you must remember like this circulation: right ventricle to pulmonary artery, lungs, pulmonary vein, and then to left auricle. That is, you have seen, that is the blood starting from right ventricle goes to lungs and returns back to the left auricle. So it started from heart, ends into the heart. So this is one circulation called pulmonary circulation. Now the second is systemic circulation. That is between the heart and the tissues. Now it starts from left ventricle. So you see here it is left ventricle through which it goes, blood goes to aorta, from where through the arteries it will enter into the tissues, that is the organs. After that, from tissues it returns back through vena cava, and then to right auricle. So in this way we see that the blood flows in two parts, that is the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. Together it is known as the double circulation. Now, a student, this can be represented by a simple diagram. Now you see, that is in this part. Suppose as a simple diagram, we take this as a heart. Now suppose this is right auricle, left auricle, right ventricle, left ventricle. Now on this part, suppose we represent lungs, here we represent tissues, that is the organ. Now you see, that is from the tissues, that is from different parts of the body, blood through the vena cava. Now if it is single line is given, you will write vena cava, but if two lines are given, then the superior and inferior vena cava. Now then the blood goes to the right ventricle. From here it goes to lungs through pulmonary artery for oxygenation. Now from the lungs, after oxygenation, blood returns back to left auricle, that is through pulmonary vein, which is exception. Then the blood goes to the left ventricle, and from here it goes to the tissues through aorta or artery. Now so we see that in right chambers of the heart, deoxygenated blood flows, and in left chambers of the heart, oxygenated blood flows. So this is about the double circulation. Now the next part is next function, the heartbeat or cardiac cycle. Now we see that the chambers of the heart contract and relaxes alternately in each circulation. So we can write here, that is the alternate contraction and relaxing of chambers of the heart in each complete circulation form a heartbeat. Now so generally we see that the average rate of heartbeat in adult human, that is the average heartbeat is 72 per minute. That is in adult. In growing child, that is infants, it may be, that is newborn babies, may be up to 140 per minute. Now a smaller the body size, higher is the rate of heartbeat. The reason is that is due to a smaller body size, the surface area volume ratio is higher. So from the surface of the body, large amount of heat is dissipated. So in order to distribute the heat generated in the body throughout the body or carrying the different substances, the heartbeat is higher. So we have seen that is in adult it is 72 times per minute, in a newborn baby it is 140 times per minute, and in a sparrow, which is a very small bird, it is about 700 or more than in other organism. So now the heartbeat, now you see that is it has different phases. Now what are these phases? One heartbeat takes about 0.85 second, one complete heartbeat. Now the steps are, the first, that is the auricular systole. Here you can see here, that is the systole, contraction phase of the chamber of the heart, contraction phase, and diastole, that is relaxing phase. So using these two terms, we write here first auricular systole. That is when the auricle has to contract. In that case, the blood is pumped into the ventricle. Now it is for 0.15 second. Next time, when the ventricle gets filled with the blood, then it contracts and sends blood to the different parts of the body, like through pulmonary artery, blood goes to lungs, and through aorta, it goes to different parts of the body, that is the tissues, and hence it is called ventricular systole. Ventricular systole will be for 0.30 second. Now we see the auricle has to pump blood under gravity into the ventricle. So just it initiates, the valves are opened, the blood will fall down. But the ventricles have to pump the blood against gravity and over long distance, so it takes longer time to push the blood, pump the blood, and hence it takes longer time. But you see a student, that is in each heartbeat, in between the working of the two chambers, auricle and ventricle, for short duration, all the four chambers of the heart remain relaxed. Like after contraction, the ventricle start to relax, and at the same time the auricles were already relaxed. So that is termed as joint diastole. That is for 0.40 second. So together it makes 0.85 second. So this is the heartbeat. Now a student, one thing about the cardiac cycle is asked, that is which is taking place in two phases, that is auricular systole and ventricular diastole. So further here we write auricular systole and ventricular diastole. Actually at that time, student, we have to write that which valve will be opened and which valve will be closed. So just you see, auricles are contracting, so these two valves will be open, and since the ventricle is relaxing, so these two valves should be closed such to prevent backflow of blood. So we write here, that is tricuspid and bicuspid valves are open, whereas pulmonary and aortic semilunar valves, semilunar valves are closed. Now second part, this time the ventricle will contract to pump the blood, and at the same time the auricles will start to relax to receive the blood. So second part is ventricular systole and auricular diastole. So we see here just opposite to this function, since these chambers are contracting, so these two valves will be closed to prevent backflow, and the blood will then pass through this structure to other parts. So here we write tricuspid and bicuspid valves are closed, whereas pulmonary and aortic semilunar valves are closed, are open. Now, so a student, we see that is this diagram based question is asked sometimes, like you see, suppose by opening and seeing the opening and closing of the valves, we can write which phase of the heartbeat is taking place, cardiac cycle is taking place. So diagram based question is asked. The question will be asked that name the phase of the cardiac cycle. Then it will be asked which chamber is the contracting and name the valves open or closed. So we can write here by observing these things. Now, students, during heartbeat, since the valves are opening and closing, so due to the closure of the flaps of the valves, some sounds are produced, which are now termed as heart sounds. Now, there are two types of sounds produced. One is called lub. Lub is the first sound, we can say, or it is the stronger sound, which is produced due to closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves at the beginning of the ventricular systole. When ventricles contract, due to the force exerted, the flaps gets closed, come to close together and make a sound. So the strong sound produced due to closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves at the beginning of ventricular systole. So if you hear the heartbeat, you can easily recognize it, that is the strong sound. It is followed by the weak sound or faint sound. So the first sound is due to the closure of tricuspid bicuspid valves, and it is at the beginning of ventricular systole. The second sound is the dup. This is comparatively weak sound. So the weak sound produced due to closure of pulmonary and aortic semilunar valves. Pulmonary and aortic semilunar valves at the beginning of ventricular diastole. So we see a student here, that is when the ventricle start to relax, at that time the pressure will be decreased, the blood passing through pulmonary artery and aorta will tend to fall back. As a result, these two valves, that is the blood coming on this part, exerts pressure, and these two valves will come closer and this will be closed. So it will prevent backflow. So duct is produced at the beginning of ventricular diastole. Clear, student? So these were the terms or sounds produced during heartbeat. Now a student, just for knowledge, there is an apparatus that is called a stethoscope. A stethoscope. It is used to hear the heart sounds. It is used to hear heart sounds and count heartbeat. Actually, in a stethoscope, there is a diaphragm which is placed on the chest. Now it vibrates and it amplifies the vibration such that loud and clear sound is heard by the doctor. The next part is blood pressure. The pressure exerted by the blood on the wall of artery with each ventricular systole and diastole, is called the heartbeat. Sorry, the blood pressure is called the blood pressure. Now we see that blood is a fluid flowing in it. So the fluid exerts pressure in all directions. So when the ventricle contracts, it pushes the blood, it forces the blood to pass through the arteries, and arteries have muscular wall, so it dilates, exerting the pressure. Now, in this part, there is the two components of it, that is ventricular, that is systolic pressure, that is also termed as upper limit, and upper limit of the blood pressure is between 100 to 140 mm of Hg, mercury pressure. Second is diastolic pressure. Now it is 60 to 90 mm of Hg. And now the average, the heartbeat, blood pressure, average blood pressure is 120 upon 80 mm of Hg. That is, it is termed as systolic pressure over diastolic pressure. This is the average blood pressure. Now there is a device called sphygmomanometer, which is a mercury barometer to measure. It is the mercury barometer to measure blood pressure. So students, we had studied the different terms, different structures, the functioning of the heart in this topic, and now in the next part we will study about the blood vessel. Clear, student? Okay, thank you.